Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it is day 4 of our April 2021 release, and I have a card and tag to share. Hey everyone, so I'm using the new set, Bust My Buttons, our bread tag die, our label shape dies, and our layer frayed and journal die, rectangle dies, and our border dies. And I'm using I'd Rather Be Crafting by Echo Park in 12-inch. So here I cut out paper tray ink craft cardstock with those dies, and now I'm going to go ahead and stamp onto these die cut backgrounds with the stamp set. That's the one that kind of fits in our tags. And I'm using my Misty just in case I need to stamp it more than once because I want a really nice clean image. I'm just rubbing it on my hand so it'll accept the ink. There we go. And I'm going to pick it up with my Misty here. I'm just trying to get it nice and straight. And I'm pulling out my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. I'm going to be doing some paper piecing today, actually, so that's my plan. Although I will be doing a little bit of Copic coloring, so do as I say, not as I do. Don't Copic color with VersaFine Clair because it's not Copic safe. I was really careful though, so and I just colored the word bust, so it wasn't too much. But you got to be careful. You don't want to wreck your Copics. They're an investment. There we go. So there's my first stamped image. I'm going to basically stamp the same thing onto this other image because I'm using the same image on both my card and my tag. So I'm using this little piece of acetate. I think it's from Simon Says Stamp, and it just helps me line it up without making an inky mess on my already cut out background. I did say that was paper tray ink craft cardstock, right? Can't remember if I said that, but that's what I'm using today. So I'm just trying to get this straightened out here. And this is me farting around. And trust me, this is sped up. So if you can imagine. So I'm just trying to make sure it's straight. And then I'll go ahead and stamp it onto this shape label die. Or is that what it's called? Label shape dies, sorry. I love these dies. They're so pretty. I always forget about them, and then every once in a while I pull them out and I'm like, geez, I like these things. And then I'll use them a lot for a while, and then I'll forget again and I'll pull out something else. All the Jaded Blossom dies are awesome. So now I'm going to be stamping out some of the buttons. And on that paper line, it has this page with all these cameras, and inside the little lenses is different colors that match with the line. And they happen to fit the buttons perfectly. So sometimes you need to get creative when you're doing paper piecing. And what I'm doing is I'm stamping the buttons onto these different colors and patterns, and then I'll fussy cut them out. This doesn't happen often, and so, watch closely because I'm kind of a lazy crafter, and if I can do it another way, I usually do. I usually use my brother's Scan and Cut for this kind of stuff, but I thought I would do it by hand and show you. So I'm just using an acrylic block with that same ink, that VersaFine Clair Nocturne. And I'm just quickly stamping. And if you make a mistake, stamp it again. No one will know. The craft police won't come and arrest you. It's fine. So you'll see that I'm rubbing my fingers on those stamps. Now, 9 times out of 10, they stamp fine. But, sometimes during the processing, there's some stuff left on there. And you want to rub it. You could use an eraser on there. You could use some Versamark ink first. Just something to make it pick up the ink evenly. And I just rub it on my fingers. Usually that works. And then I'll stamp it a few times. So now I'm going to cut out these little buttons. And I'm using my EK Success little scissors. And there we go. And it's super fast and easy. Nothing crazy. And they don't have to be perfect because the images are already stamped on the tag and on the card front, on that little tag piece that I'm using. And if you cut it on the black line, even if it's not perfect, it'll blend into the stamped line behind it. It's the best way to do paper piecing. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm quickly cutting these all out. And like I said, it's not rocket science, you just have to have some patience. I'm surprised I did this because I have zero patience whatsoever. But, for this, I had a little bit of patience, and I was, like I said, messing around here. There we go. And yeah, that's about it. I'm just paper piecing the buttons, trying to get it as good as I can. So what I'm doing here is I am going to cut the holes in some of these buttons. And this was the smallest hole punch I had. This is a golden oldie. from Fiskars. So on the ones that were big enough, I punched holes. And the ones that weren't, I just used a poker tool, and you'll see why in a little bit. There we go. So I'm taking my Memento Tuxedo Black marker, and I'm going to run it around the edges of my buttons, just to, it'll kind of hide if I've got any, mistakes or poor cutting, poor trimming. And now I'm going to go ahead and use my art glitter glue that's in this tiny little bottle with a needle tip, and I'm going to put my buttons onto each of these bases. And I'm trying to line up the holes just because I want it to look, like it was meant to look. There we go. And this is like, I don't know, super easy. It's not even dimensional. So, it's relatively flat. And I'm just quickly sticking these all down. Which is always, I like the look of paper piecing. I really do. I just don't like to do it. Now I'm working, you see, on a really old Fiskars mat because I was using that punch and I didn't want to wreck my, what I was working on underneath it. So I pulled out that whenever I'm doing that kind of cutting, or if I'm using an X-Acto blade or something, I'll pull that little one out. There we go. So there we are. Now I'm going to use a little poker tool. You can use any poker tool with a sharp needle, and I'm just poking the little holes in the other buttons and also through the ones that I cut out because, I want it to go through right through to the back of that paper tray ink craft cardstock. And that's that. So now I'm pulling out my Copic markers and I'm using BG32, BG15, and BG18. So I'm going to color in this word bust really careful because I used not Copic friendly ink. And I'm just going to quickly solidly color them in. And then I'm going to blend basically from like an ombre kind of look. So darker on the bottom, lighter on the top. So I'm just going to flick in some color from the bottom. That's my BG18. And then I'll bring in BG15 for the middle. And this is like, easy Copic coloring. There we go. I actually thought of fussy cutting that word bust, but that's just beyond me. I didn't want to mess with that. That's too much. There we go. And that's my other one that I did off the video, like not on camera. So I'm using my Secura White Jelly Roll pen just to add a few little highlights on that word bust, and that's it. So now I've got a needle, and I'm using a needle threader there, and I'm using Trendy Twine's Craft twine, and I split it in half, so it's only a couple of threads. And now I'm going to sew on these buttons to make them look like real buttons. I hate leaving, with buttons, I hate just leaving the holes plain. I don't know, that's just me. It's something that drives me crazy. It always has from the beginning of time when I started making cards. If there was ever a button, if I used a button, remember back in the day, buttons were kind of hot. You'd use them on cards. They had to have twine in them or floss or something, or it would drive me bonkers. So here I am, sewing because I can't help myself. But it was relatively easy. I just grabbed a quick embroidery needle and it took 2 seconds just to quickly sew this, sew little pieces of twine in all the buttons. Some of them I went through twice, others I left just once. And then I taped the twine to the back of that cardstock just to hold it in place. And there's me doing the other one. I wish I could go this fast, right? So there are the 2 that I've done. So like nice and easy. So now I'm pulling out my glossy accents that I have in a little bottle again with a precision tip. Those I got from Amazon. And I'm just going to add some glossy accents to some of the buttons just to give them a little bit of dimension and make them look a little more interesting. You want to pop any bubbles that you get. It's another thing that drives me crazy. Bubbles in my glossy accents. So there we are. So pretty cute, eh? Now, I'm going to go ahead and make my first project, which is a tag. So I'm using my bread tag die, and I cut it out of paper tray and craft cardstock first because I want it to be nice and sturdy. And I'm facing the good side to the back. And then I cut it out of my button paper from I'd Rather Be Crafting Echo Park, and I paste, and the good side is facing us. So it's good on both sides. I do that all the time. And now I'm going to pop up my image using some 3M foam tape. So this is a super fast and easy project, perfect for a little, to pop on a little gift. I love these bread tag dies. They're just so cute. Jade Blossom has quite a few really cute dies for tags. You can't go wrong at all. Normally I just rip off my 3M foam tape, but I've done something to my dominant thumb, and ripping is not something that feels good, so I trimmed this time. So now I've got an A2 size card base, vertical fold, 4.25 by 11 inches, scored at 5.5. And I took the largest rectangle that's 4.5 or 4.25 by 5.5, and I cut it in half. So I believe that's 3.75 inches. And then I'm covering the bottom half of my card base. And then that is a piece of paper from the same line. Now they have some cutouts and stuff, but I just used the layered frame and journal die to cut out that little tag that's actually in the set. And then I'll be covering up with other stuff so you won't see the writing on there. Remember, you can always use those leftover pieces. So now I've got my piece of paper. That is actually from This and That from Echo Park. I pulled in this blue dotted paper from an old line just because I wanted to get I wanted blue on this card, and that went with the blue buttons. And I cut it in half so I get the stitching on both sides. Otherwise you'd only have the stitching on the one side and the other side would have no stitching, like on the ends. I kind of wanted it to look finished. So there is my layered frame die, and I've got it down. And then I've got 2 little pieces cut out using my mini tag dies 3 too. So that is from the stitch label dies or label shape dies. I always forget what it's called. And I've got it cut out of the pattern paper and out of the craft with my sentiment. And I'm adding on my 2 little, banner shapes that I cut out using This and That. That yellow is from This and That. And the other one is from the I'd Rather Be Crafting 12-inch line. Now I'm going to pop up my sentiment on the front of the card base. So this was a super fast and easy card. Make sure to look carefully at all your dies. You can make cute little groupings, and it's just super fast and easy. So there we go. And I'm just popping that on my card base. I'm trying to decide, do I want it straight or do I want it tilted and wonky? I believe I go tilted and wonky. There we go. Isn't that cute? I just love how these turned out. Like, it's just an adorable set. So now I'm pulling them out my We Are Memory Keepers 1/2-inch corner rounder, and I'm going to round the upper left corner to match the rounding on that other line. I'm using olive branch Nouveau Crystal drops. And you'll notice I'm holding the bottle weird because my thumb's bothering me. So now I'm just adding some Nouveau Crystal drops to my tag, and I'm also adding them to my card base. When I chose this color, I actually pulled out, I've got a chart with all my Nouveau Crystal drops on them, little drips. And this was the closest to the green in the pattern, so that's what I chose. Yeah, my thumb's kind of swollen there. That's why I'm holding it weird. Normally I hold it between my thumb and my finger, but that wasn't happening today. So there we go. So pretty cute, eh? And super fast and easy. Like I said before, I have the droplets sort of straddling the sentiment, straddling the image, or whatever you're, trying to draw your eye to. And that's what I did. Odd numbers are your friend. And that's all. So that's about it, really. Just really a quick and easy card set that you can make too. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog and check out all the design team inspiration. And make sure to come back tomorrow because we'll be having an awesome hop. And Jaded Blossom and their team just kicked it out of the park like they usually do. It's adorable. So thank you so much for stopping by. And I'll be sure to have a video for you tomorrow too. I love it when you guys come and see my videos. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.